David Shearer, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, this is a blackjack budget. This is a budget where Bill English holds all the cards but has stacked the deck against ordinary, hard-working New Zealanders, Mr Speaker. It's a game of winners and losers, and those who lose out are the millions of Kiwis slogging their guts out every day. Those people, sir, are the backbone of this country and the engine of our economy, and they deserve a government that's better than this. Because don't get fooled by the scraps that are falling off the table in this budget. This is and always has been a government for vested interests, for casino giants, for movie moguls, for investment bankers and share brokers, for big noters, self-promoters and National Party no-hopers. And if there was ever any doubt about that, we see today that mighty River power executives are getting $1.2 million in share bonuses just a few hours ago. That's who this government stands for, Mr Speaker, and that's why I move an amendment that all the words after that be omitted and substituted with the words, quote, "This House has no confidence in the National-led government because it has failed to deliver on its promises and because it has put vested interests ahead of the interests of hard-working New Zealanders." Sir, this isn't a budget for the people. It's certainly not a budget, sir, for the couple that I know of who are approaching 40 with 2 kids who still can't get into their own home, afford their own home, because they don't have parents who can stump up with the deposit. And, sir, that's becoming the way and the only way you can get into house ownership, sir, in Auckland. Or another family whose soccer fees are $100 for each kid, which means that only the eldest of their 3 will get to play this season. These are parents who are well-educated, who are hard-working, but no longer believe that things are going to get better for them. Because under this government, all they've seen is broken promises. They've been let down by what has become a game show government, with host John Key, glamorous assistants John Banks and Peter Dunn, and together you'll see them on your TV screens at night hosting Fire Sale of the Century. Fire Sale of the Century. Everything's up for sale. Farmland, Mighty River Power, Genesis, Meridian, Air New Zealand, labour laws, gambling licences, you name it. It's all got to go. And we've even had deal or no deal with special guests, of course, Sky City. Because big prizes are on offer. We've got hundreds of new pokies, gaming tables, and a one-time only 35-year extension to a gambling licence if you happen to know the right people. If you happen to know the right people. And to the taxpayer, what do we get? Well, we get a convention centre, except that Sky City still owns that as well. And it doesn't stop there, Mr Speaker. John Banks takes over the show Would I Lie to You, and he's playing it as an in-court special. And Peter Dunn, he stars in The Ultimate Survivor. Sometimes he outplays, he never outwits, but somehow he always seems to outlast. Sir, behind this game show, sir, there is actually a very tough and serious reality in our country. And I've crisscrossed this country over the last year, meeting thousands of people, and they are decent people. And they can't understand why, when they're doing everything right, when they're doing what their parents said would get them ahead, they still feel like they're failing. They're starting to understand that John Key cares more about his mates than their mates. Because the only time they've seen this government stand up for anything is when they're fighting to protect their own privileges, not for those working hard. Like the cleaner I know of, who was working 40 hours at a hotel on a minimum wage. She wasn't able to make ends meet, so she took on extra hours at a hotel down the road. But she was told that she couldn't do that because it was a conflict of interest. She's cleaning toilets, for heaven's sake. What conflict could there possibly be? But that's why this government wants to be more flexible with our labour laws. It's easier to squeeze the little people like her who just want to get ahead with their families. And what about our vulnerable kids? Well, sir, I'm like everybody else. I'm surprised why there is no food in schools in this budget.
Where is it? Where is it?
I mean, it's because John Key would rather spend $40 million on private schools than spend it on kids who need to go to school with a full stomach. That $40 million would go a long way to feed a lot of vulnerable kids. But I have to say, sir, it's welcome that they have finally woken up to the fact that there is a housing crisis. Woken up after we announced Kiwi Build's plan to build 100,000 affordable homes. But, sir, when you go through this budget, there is nothing in there that will guarantee more affordable homes. More homes for their mates, but no more affordable homes, sir. So if you're a first home buyer or wanting to be a first home buyer out there today watching this budget, I'm sorry, but it's nothing but disappointment in front of you. Because the only way to guarantee Kiwis affordable homes is to roll up your sleeves and build them. That's the only way you're going to get more affordable homes. And we've had 4 years of this government fiddling with the RMA and nothing has changed. House prices are continuing to skyrocket and the government will do nothing to tax the speculators who are making a killing pushing prices up. Sir, this government's only plan for getting ahead is to sell New Zealanders what they already own. Already own. In 2017, because of the sale down of our assets, our books will be in worse shape financially than they are now because the dividends will have gone. Just a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, Mighty River Power was 100% Kiwi owned. Now, 2.5% of owners own half of our asset. And the reality is that this is a government, sir, this is a government for the well-heeled and the well-connected. The reality is that this government, sir, has been exactly that from their time that they came in office. This government gave $2.25 billion in tax cuts to those people at the very top. At the very top. That's 40% of the cuts to the top 10% of New Zealanders. And while other Kiwis, sir, are doing it tough. So tough that just last week, the 200,000th Kiwi got on a plane and flew to Australia with a one-way ticket. 200,000 Kiwis have gone to Australia since that government came into office because they can't see, sir, a future here. Because the only future John Key's worried about, sir, is Sky City. Because when it comes to the future of millions of New Zealanders, it's just too hard and he's too busy. And let me give you an example of that. Why he will not be able to secure superannuation. Quote, 2020 is a long way away and there are a lot of things on my plate that I need to deal with in the here and now rather than things in 2020 and beyond. He knows things need to change, but he won't do anything about it because it's just too politically expedient to sit on your hands. In 2 more years, according to this budget, our superannuation bill will exceed our education bill. In 2 years, and this government will do nothing about it. So what does he think is more important than that? Well, sir, it's payouts, bailouts and golden handshakes. It's breakfast with Ian Fletcher, a cup of tea with John Banks. It's dinner with Sky City. Every time that man sits down with a meal with anybody, they get something out of it. There's something in it for their mates. Just like the MMP review. It's not about protecting John Banks and Peter Dunn. Then what is it? He's ignored what New Zealanders actually, sir, voted for. And there's a word for that. There's a word for that, and the word is arrogant. This government is mired in broken promises, budget after budget. Their promises simply haven't stacked up. In 2010, John Key promised a step change with 170,000 jobs. But since the last election, they've only come up with 8,000. In 2011, they promised unemployment would be at 4.8%. It's at 6.2%. For 3 years, we've been promised wages would grow by about 4%. Last year, it was 1.7%, and nearly half of Kiwis got no wage increase at all. Every year they promise a brighter future, and every year New Zealanders are let down. And this year, sir, will be absolutely no exception. Because they have created a two-speed economy. A fast lane for property speculators, a slow lane for first home buyers, a fast lane for power company bosses, and a slow lane for people who are struggling to pay their power bills. A fast lane for foreign and corporate investors buying our assets, and a slow lane, sir, for our manufacturers and our exporters. Bill English keeps on saying we're on the right track, but quite frankly, sir, it's a track to nowhere. And what we've heard today in the budget, sir, is about tinkering. It's about pilot projects. There are more pilots in this budget than the entire population of Air New Zealand, sir.
Soon to be sold.
What? It's soon to be sold. We needed to hear today, sir, a budget for every New Zealand. One that would have made a difference to everybody's lives. One that would have given people real hope. That's what a Labour government is committed to do. We have the courage to make the big changes. We have the bold and innovative ideas that show what a smart, active, hands-on government can really achieve. Because I want to create and build, not just trade and sell off. Our ideas are practical, sir, they're responsible, and they will change people's lives for the better. Here's what Labour will do. We will bring down power bills for Kiwi families. National says no. Electricity prices aren't too high, apparently. We'll reduce power prices for businesses so they can invest and create more jobs. National says no, just let the prices go up. We'll build 100,000 affordable homes. What does National say? No. Exactly, no. Get back to us after the election. We'll tackle the high dollar that's crippling employers. And what will National say about that? No. You exporters, you're on your own. You get off and you're on your own. We'll expand KiwiSaver and secure the New Zealand super. And what does National say to that? No. That's just too hard. That just doesn't suit our vested interests. We'll raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and champion a living wage. And what does National say to that? No, we're happy with a low-wage economy, actually. We'll pay employers the equivalent of the dole to take on an apprentice. But what does National say to that? Let's cut young New Zealanders' wages instead. We will live within our means. Has National been able to live within a budget for the past 5 years?
No.
No, they haven't. For 5 years they have run a deficit. Unlike Labour, who produced surpluses 9 years in a row. And how is this government going to get to surplus this year? By overcharging you on your petrol tax and overcharging you on your ACC levies. So the next time you fill up at petrol, just remember where that surplus is coming from. It's coming out of your petrol tank. Our budgets will get in behind hard-working Kiwis, create jobs, and they will grow the economy. Because people are doing their bit and they expect the government to do its bit as well. And that's what should shine through every budget year after year. That's what I'm committed to, Mr. Speaker. Now, in a minute you'll hear from John Key, and we'll hear the one-liners and the weak excuses and the scaremongering, and most of it, of course, will focus on the Labour Party, a little about what he'll do. Although I'm sure we'll try to convince us about the nirvana that's waiting at the end of the tunnel after we sell all our assets off, Mr. Speaker. But at the very heart of this budget, sir, there's another deficit. And that deficit, sir, is one of ideas. Because what this country really needs is a government that has the courage to take on the big changes. A government that will give hope, Mr. Speaker. A Labour government, because, sir, we've had enough of the game shows and the wheel of misfortune. Someone should give John Key a vowel, because his government is oh for awful. Sir, in the immortal words of Aaron Gilmore and General Patton, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Well, John Key, you've had your chance. Follow Aaron Gilmore and get out of the way. Because I will lead a government, sir, that puts the interests of New Zealanders first ahead of vested interests. A government that puts people first. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The question is that the amendment be agreed to. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.